Hey guys, welcome to Flat Top King. Hey, we just made some bad A pork chops. We're going to tell you everything from A and Z that you need to know. If you guys want to see how we make this, here we go. One of the all-time classics, favorites, simple dishes you could possibly do. Pork chops. I've got a homemade seasoning that a lot of times we use on pork chops. I haven't really debuted it a lot just because we've came out with our own seasonings, but it's a dang good pork chop. So here we go. Salt, pepper. We have garlic powder, and we have chili powder, we have smoked paprika, we have onion powder, cumin, and sugar, okay? Basically, this is this recipe doubled. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. Very good pork seasoning. All right, what I have here is a pepper relish mix that I'll just let set in the refrigerator, see if I can taste any difference. I've always made it as soon as I made the pork chops, but I've let this one marry together, and I can't taste the difference. Throughout the journey, we get a lot of comments, and I've tried to relay as much information to you guys as possible. Sometimes you guys don't want to buy the ingredients because you're stuck with them. This is one of those things where I felt like when we did the birria and we had to buy those peppers, whether it be through the grocery store or Amazon, we try to use different ways to incorporate those into a video. That way you guys are getting like the full value of it. Same thing with these. Let's see what we got. Some roasted red peppers. Pimentos were on the list of things for me to get because when we make our homemade pimento cheese, what do you use those pimentos for if you don't make pimento cheese? This is a perfect substitute for them. I just opted to get these because I knew I was going to be making this dish. If you have pimentos, you can definitely throw that in there. You can substitute it or just keep adding it. Banana pepper is always in the pantry. I've got a sandwich relish, typically like this, that we use quite a bit. Hot pepper jelly. Another reason is because we've used this many times before. No difference in this video. And I've been stuck on these peppers for about a year. I love them. The whole idea is basically you create your concoction, you chop it up, and you add your little relish, and then I'll throw some balsamic vinegar in there. If it's too spicy, you can throw a little honey in there. If it's not spicy enough, this stuff right here will set you on fire. So, weary. So I'm gonna add this little pepper relish. I think it's a perfect balance for pork. The heat, the sweet, the vinegar, just marries well. So let me show you kind of like what I did. I'm just looking at it, and all I did was eyeball, okay? Since this is so spicy, and I know how spicy this is, I'm only going to use a little bit. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of it already in there, and I want to balance those flavors. I really like the sweetness from that pepper jelly, so a little bit of that. Got that tang and the crunch from the banana peppers. This is one of those things where I kind of like, it's just more of an idea than it is a recipe. You guys can definitely make it your own. All right, just see those little cherry peppers. These have some heat, but it's got a little sweet to them as well. Love these bad boys. Those can go in there. And this is what I talk about balance. This is your roasted pepper or pimentos or both, right? This has absolutely no heat at all, but it does have a ton of flavor. So depending on how spicy yours is, you can always add a little bit more of this to balance those flavors. And a few splashes of balsamic vinegar. And that right there is a perfect accompaniment to those pork chops. Alrighty, the star of the show. The reason why you see so much pork out here is because I feel like I'm deeply involved in this conversation. I've tried to teach from day one. We get a lot of comments. Why is my pork dry? Okay. What I did, I bought every single type of pork chop I could find at my local grocery store. But I did that with purpose and passion. The most important thing you can possibly do. I don't care about marinade. I don't care about the temperature of your grill, your smoker, your oven, your skillet. None of that matters. The only thing that matters about pork is the internal temperature. The only way to create juicy pork is to not overcook it. Because once it's overcooked, you're not getting that juice back, okay? Instant thermometer's got to be key in any kitchen, any outdoor kitchen. I preach that from day one. The reason why I say that, I'm going to quickly go over these pork chops, okay? I bought thick and I bought thin. I'm a thick kind of pork chop kind of guy just because, for example, like the steaks, right? I'd rather have a thicker steak so I can stay on the griddle a little bit longer, develop a little bit more deeper flavor, a little bit more char, a little bit more Maillard reaction, more flavor, more crust. The thinner it is, you're not getting that. Typically your griddles are so hot, 500 plus degrees, that's extremely hard to get a great sear without overcooking your thin pork chops. What we have here is kind of like your standard grocery store center cut thin pork chop, okay? So we're gonna open that up. Just show you basically kind of the thickness that you're looking at. This is perfect for deep frying. You can pound this out a little bit more. but it's not necessarily the best for putting it on your griddle. Can you? Absolutely. I'm not telling you to break the bank or do something special. I'm just telling you, when you're talking about pork chops, I take it seriously. It's one of my favorite cuts. We have a loin. Now, people call this pork chops, and I'm sure it's somehow considered a pork chop, but all this is that big, long, fat piece of pork loin that's been cut in little medallions. Another perfect thing for pounding out and frying. You can make pork schnitzel out of it. And yes, you could put it on the griddle, but ultimately, this is going to dry out super, super, super fast. I'm going to show you why. Now we start getting into the nitty gritty. My favorite part of pork. This is what we call a porterhouse, okay? This is the best of both worlds in my opinion. This is the loin, okay? You got the T-bone right there, and this is the fillet. So when you get a fillet tenderloin, this is what you're getting. When you get the loin like this is what you're getting. It's the same here, but look at the difference in the size and the quality. Okay, turn it over here. It might look a little bit different because this is the start of the center cut. But this right here is a prized possession in my opinion. That to me is the start of the show. And to me, this is very close to second. You can see all that dark meat in there. This is actually rib meat from like the ribs. Like if you cut out ribs for like a baby back, you got your loin here, and it reminds you a lot of a ribeye steak. Okay, so let's go through the thought process. You see the color differentiations? This is like your spinalis on your ribeye. This is what makes the ribeye so special. All that dark meat right there, you got all that fat running through there, the well marbled. This right here is your loin running through there, okay? And it's protected all that. Plus it's got the bone in for flavor. These two neck and neck, I mean, it's almost like 1A, 1B, okay? You're going to find this a lot more common than you will this cut right here, especially this large.
What is that cut called? Rib end pork chop.
Yep. So this is going to be kind of like your ribeye end. And let me show you this end right here. This is the exact opposite. Okay. You can see this starts the loin. This is the middle of the loin. And this is the other end of the loin. Now, yes, you could start on this side of the loin, but yeah, I'm just working in my mind right to left. Okay. Look at the difference in the coloring. All that dark meat, all that marbling through there. Phenomenal cut of meat right there. The reason why I did this is because it really irks me when I see some of the comments, and I just can't, I'm not there to criticize anybody's comments or anything like that. But there are different cuts of meat, and there's different preparations for each method, but the most important thing is the internal temperature and the quality of meat and what meat you're getting. When you get these loins like this, you know, if you're cooking these at 140, pulling these at 145 or 150, you guys can do your own research. FDA says 145. So if somebody says 160, it's wrong. That's for ground. This is for chops. The good thing about getting a bigger pork chop, and most of our griddles out there, especially on the Blackstone, you can work your zones, because if you don't want your meat to be on the hottest side of the griddle at all times, you're able to move your meat over, get off that intense heat on a lower zone, and be able to get up to that temperature as needed without overcooking the edges. With that being said, I just wanted to show you that because I think it's very important. All right, we don't need a binder. I'm just going to lightly season all these chops. Get a nice coating on there. Pork chops are very versatile. Hey, you can do a lot of things with pork chops. Kind of like a neutral canvas in a way. You want to be careful that you don't over season these, especially the smaller ones. You want to be careful when you season your pork too, because this has a ton of surface area, but it's also thin. So you can imagine when you bite into it, if you're not careful, you could over season. Obviously the larger cuts can take a little bit more seasoning. All right, little avocado oil. You can tell that our griddle's ripping hot. It's already smoking. So the first thing we're gonna do is lay down the 3 cuts of meat, the 3 larger cuts of meat. Okay, we're gonna hold off on those small cuts because they can overcook in a hurry. I'm looking at about 450 degrees on the griddle. All right, we're looking at roughly 3 minutes. We're gonna start flipping it.
It smells amazing.
Great color so far. All right, just to give you an idea, this griddle's been on low the whole time. You got to adjust your heat accordingly. You don't want this to run too hot because you don't want to overcook the outside for the inside done. These are large cuts of meat. 3 minutes it's been. Just go ahead and flip it again. Temperature of the griddle has dropped to about 330. So we're going to turn that heat back up to about a medium heat. Just to give you guys an idea. All right, I've slowly moved this one down to the cooler side of the griddle because it's going to be done the fastest. Put that right on the cutting board. So we got a little ways to go. Second, multiple spots. Alrighty, this side of the griddle's on low, this side of the griddle's on medium, using those zones. And this one, while it's coming up to temp, I'm going to add those smaller pork chops. I'm going to give you a time frame of how long it's taking to cook these large ones once that one's done. Same thing with the small ones. All right, those 3 on the cutting board. You guys think your domes are just used for the griddles? Top it just like that. Keep all that heat in there. Works just like aluminum foil. Looking at about 2 minutes. All right, guys, there you go. There's some big old thick pork chops. Thanks to our kids off camera for holding the boards just right, because if they didn't, then the picture would look like...
Too sunny. The
Thanks.
sun is
Way to
setting
really
on
move
us.
them on the cue, girls. No, you got to move them out of the picture so we can show them what it looks like. Oh.
Then I hit myself in the head.
Oh my gosh. We're really working with...
We're a family affair over here.
All right. You got that relish that you made? Let's see. The big pork chops took about 15 minutes roughly, because obviously some were done faster than the others. The smaller pork chops took about 7 to 8 minutes. Clearly you get great color. I'm just saying you can't walk away from these because they cook so fast. How I like to serve it is something like that. Just let that relish come right in. Kind of like do its thing. That's my favorite, so that's what I'm doing. Got some broccoli on the side, as you can see. Guess you guys want to see inside of it. I don't know if you can tell by the board juices.
That's just the juices from them resting.
Yeah.
And they smell amazing. That seasoning is a winner.
Oh, we'll just cut right down the middle. I mean, just how juicy that is. How tender. You just gotta be very careful. Like I said, pork is very finicky when you're cooking that high of a heat. I mean, just look at that.
It's a good workout. Arm workout for you girls.
Subtle. Moist.
Oh my gosh.
I like that relish, like I said. I could eat that relish all day.
Let me try a piece with that.
You said before you didn't care for it.
That one pepper blend is super spicy.
Tell me if that's not, here. Tell me if that's not the bite right there. I'm telling you. Where's that loin at? I'm gonna show you this little loin before we get off here. So this is the pork loin, probably the most cost-effective loin out there. The grains are running this way, so let's cut it this way. There's just not a lot of fat in a loin to keep it moist. So you're gonna have to counterbalance that with cooking it right at the perfect temp. And you can see right there, I mean, it's just dripping with juice for a reason. Really quick, you're gonna ask, could you dome it and speed up the process? You can. I think the steam counteracts the crust. And I think just allowing it to breathe and having it one side and just flipping it often helps develop a little bit more deeper flavor. And that's what we enjoy. Steaming would definitely speed up the process. If you guys are interested, we have a join button down below with the membership program. We thank each and every one of you for taking time for doing so. You can check out the Griddle group on Facebook, where we talk about griddles, talk about pork chops, talk about whatever you want to talk about, because these jokers are
Dang
good.
good.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, pound the notification button, share it with your friends. Peace. You guys ready for some pork chops?
Yes. They're dang good.
I'm ready to take off the